Hey, how's it going? It's Karl, aka Karl Drum Tech. I'm here right now at Torrance High School in Torrance, California. This is always going to be a great spot for me to do video blogs just because, it's kind of nostalgic for me because this is my alma mater. This is where I went to high school, and it's kind of like not that well lit right now, but that is Torrance High School behind me. And it is the site of all these movies and TV shows like Beverly Hills 90210 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, blah, 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 blah. But that is not what I wanted to talk about today. Today, I wanted to talk about something that is extremely important, I think, to talk about in the activity because it's not talked about enough. And it's so important because I think it is important to many, many people. And that is the concept of getting cut from Drum Corps or some other independent ensemble, or let's say like you're getting cut from college groups or whatever, right? College scholarships, whatever the case may be. And how do you deal with those situations? Because when it comes down to it, there's definitely more people who get cut than people who actually make these groups. If you think about it, right, there's only so many limited spots, and there's so many people who audition, who try out, and then there's definitely more people who get cut than the people who actually make it in. Does that make sense? Especially in the marching percussion field. There's only so many spots for the snare line. There's only so many spots for the tenor line. There's only like 5 or 6 spots in the bass line, right? Compared to, relatively to the horn line, where there's a lot more spots. So, for the time being, let's just focus on the percussion section side of things. Like I said, I am Karl Drum Tech. I do focus on that side of things, but let's just say that you are somebody who has gotten cut before. Hopefully this video is going to be extremely helpful for you. And if you know somebody who's gotten cut before, hopefully this can also help them. Let's say you're somebody who's never gotten cut before. I know you know people who have gotten cut, and they could use this information. And even if you are that person who has never got cut from any kind of drum corps, any kind of ensemble, whatever the case may be, trust me, if you have a long life ahead of you, you will have some failures, you will have some setbacks in your life. Whether that's a job that you try to get that you didn't get, or let's say you're auditioning for an acting job, or some kind of arts kind of activity, and you don't get that gig. There's always going to be some kind of failure in your life, and I think this video is extremely important in order to try to help to deal with these types of situations. How do you deal with the mentality? How do you cope with that failure? How do you keep yourself from being down and keeping yourself up so that you can have success in your life despite all your failures? And I feel like this could be a really long video, so try to follow along with me, try to stay with me. But like I said, I think this video is going to be extremely important. I know it's important for me to talk about it in order to deal with my own insecurities about my own failures, which I am going to, for the first time, bust it all out here right now. So you're going to hear about a lot of them, okay? So get ready, okay? Now, you're probably asking, how am I qualified to talk about failure? Well, guess what? I failed a lot. How am I qualified in terms of how to cope with the failure of not making groups? Well, I've gotten cut before. Here's the story, okay? So when I was in high school, here at Torrance High School, we were part of a relatively successful program. We were winning. We had a great bunch of guys who had a lot of talent, great hands and all that stuff. And I even auditioned for by my senior year, I auditioned for the Tournament of Roses honor band. I got that spot, no problem. And I felt like all the success entitled me to feel like I can go to a group and I'm definitely gonna make it. I'm definitely good enough because I'm from a successful program, and I just made this Tournament of Roses honor band where there's all kinds of kids from all over the Southern California area that auditioned and didn't make it, but I'm one of the 4 tenor players that made it. So I definitely felt good going out of my senior year to try to audition for a drum corps. And guess what? Guess which drum corps was the first drum corps I auditioned for? The Blue Devils. All right, so back in 1997, 1998, whatever the case may be, I went out and I auditioned for the Blue Devils. And the funny thing is, I was not even the best kid from the group of people that I went with. Like some of the guys were guys from Torrance High School who I went with to audition with, and they were definitely better than me. And yet still, because I felt like I was from a good program, quote unquote, I felt like, I could succeed, I can definitely get a spot, and I'm good enough to make it. And again, success from the Tournament of Roses honor band. Like I felt like, okay, so I made that audition, I can definitely make the audition for Blue Devils. So guess what? I go up there and I was definitely in for a rude awakening. Sean Vega tells me that, you are going against guys who are drumming every single day. And if you're not drumming every single day, you don't even stand a chance. So there it was, my bubble was busted. Holy crap, whoa, I'm not good enough for Blue Devils? Well, yeah, I was definitely not good enough for Blue Devils, and I definitely didn't deserve to get any kind of spots, in that corps, all right? So, failure number 1, I got cut from the Blue Devils. Now, following that, I went on, we're going to talk about the next couple years, up until my age out, but, after Blue Devils, I went on and I tried out for the Madison Scouts. Guess what? I got cut from there. And then I went on to see what's going on at the Blue Knights. Guess what? I got cut from there. Now what happens after that? I went on and said, let me check out the Santa Clara Vanguard. I got cut from there. You see a pattern here? Now, I also went out and tried out for the Carolina Crown. Guess what happened there? I got cut. So, bam. All right, so some of you guys are worried about like, oh my God, I got cut from this group. I got cut 3 times. I just got cut from 5. I just told you I got cut from 5 groups. All right, so yes, I actually did end up marching at the Impulse. I'm very proud of that group. It was a first year group. So I marched the first 2 years of Impulse here in California. They're still around now, and I'm very proud of being a charter member of that group and doing something special there, I feel like. But let's be honest here, right? It's definitely not a world-class organization, quote unquote, right? So it's not a Blue Devils, it's not a Santa Clara Vanguard, and that is what is on my resume. That is what I march in terms of drum corps. Now, I did end up going to teach at the Troopers as a tenor tech, so I did that. But for the most part, right, like I said, I got cut from all those groups. Now, if you got cut from groups before, right, like me, how are you feeling? Probably most likely you're kind of feeling down on yourself. Maybe you're disappointed because you put in all this work and it didn't work out. Maybe you feel like your social status is lower and you feel bad about yourself. You feel like less of a human being. I'm throwing out all of these scenarios because guess what? I felt the same things as well. I felt like less of a person because I didn't make these groups, all right? But the reality of the situation is that if I told people outside of the activity, let's say in the professional world, that I marched all those groups, right, that I said that, I auditioned for and didn't make. Let's say I marched all those groups. Let's say that I even won championships, a DCI ring with each one of those groups. Do you think some people would see that and think, you know what? So what? Who gives a shit, right? There's definitely gonna be people who will think like that. Or there's gonna be people who are like, who still don't know anything about it and they're like, oh, that's nice, that's great. Anyways, right? So, if you really look at the big picture, it's not a big fucking deal, all right? Now, I'm not saying that drum corps is not an awesome thing. I'm not saying that, that it's not worth marching. It definitely is, but I'm just trying to give you the bigger picture, all right? So another thing to think about, right? It's like, here I am, I just told you something that probably most people would never admit openly, freely, and confidently. Yes, I got cut from basically 5 drum corps, all right? Now, the question is, what do you think about me? Do you think lower of me? Because if you do, then you're thinking about things in the wrong paradigm. Because guess what? Just because I didn't march those groups doesn't mean that I can't better myself in the drumming world. It doesn't mean that I can't gain knowledge. It doesn't mean that I can't teach. Because if I give the same information that Scott Johnson gives, right, what does it matter? All right, yes, he's Scott Johnson. Yes, he has the titles. Yes, he has the accolades. But let's say we give the same information, right? Let's say we both talk about, making sure that you have a really good sound quality when you hit the drum, all right? Just as it is. If you didn't know who said it, there's nothing wrong with the information. The information is good. It just happens to come from Scott Johnson versus me, right? So it doesn't really matter. Yes, in some context, I'm not an idiot. I'm not sitting here and telling you, I'm not discounting Scott Johnson in any way, right? Or even trying to compare his successes to me. But again, I'm just trying to show you the overall picture of, value and, like in terms of just, who is better, like that, all that stuff doesn't matter. Like it doesn't make you a better person because you march drum corps, because you have all these accolades. Like that is what I'm trying to convey to you today, is that if you have this lower sense of self-worth because you didn't make the group that you wanted to make, guess what? You can't think of it like that. You can't think that you are a lesser person because you didn't get these groups. What you have to do is you have to, and let's be honest here, all right? I didn't make those groups because I didn't deserve it, all right? I lost. I took those L's, okay? And I deserve those L's. I deserve to lose. I was complacent. I thought I was good enough, and I didn't make it. I didn't work hard enough, okay, to make those groups. Now, here's another thing, right? It's like, I think the bigger picture of how you look at things is that it's not just about the destination. It is about the journey, all right? Let's talk about another thing, okay? So when we're talking about the journey, right, it's like, let's say that, I wanted to work hard and get a nice car. I did that. I was trying to get a Honda Accord, save up enough money to get that. It was a brand new car. It was like super sick design back at the time when I was trying to get one. I got it. When I first got it, oh my God, I was so excited. It was so amazing. Holy shit, right? And it's like, after a while, that excitement kind of wears off, and now you think, well, it's just another car. I was working up to get a BMW. I worked my butt off to get that. Cool, I got a BMW. And then after a while, after that nostalgia wears off, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's just another car, all right? Now, let's take it in another context, right? There was a time when I was not that successful in dating, and like I actually worked up the skills to get to that point. But before that, right, it's like I was sitting here like, oh my God, it sucks being single and and then once I finally got it, I mean, there were some instances where I felt like, man, like I don't know, like this is good, this is great, I'm better than what I was before. But at the same time, it's like, hey, like there's also problems that come with being in a relationship. Not saying that it's not good, but there are certain things where you go, man, like this is, in some ways, this is not what it's cracked up to be, right? Does that make sense? All right, so tying this back to drum corps, if I actually did march those drum corps, maybe I didn't make it because maybe that really wasn't my thing. Like, who knows if I would have enjoyed my time marching drum corps? I don't know. I mean, when I taught at Troopers, and I did the full tour as a staff member, all right, like there's times where I'm like, I am not enjoying this tour whatsoever. I'm not enjoying this life. This is not like for me. I still did it for 3 years, but at the same time, it's like, holy crap, this is not what it's cracked up to be in some ways. Now, I'm not saying that some people don't love the activity because, there are people who go on tour, they enjoy tour because they enjoy the activity so much. I don't know if I was that person. So I don't know if I would have even given that activity the best of me if that was something that wasn't truly in my heart that I truly wanted to do. Does that make sense, right? So maybe it's not all that it's cracked up to be once you actually get those goals. I mean, I wanted to work out and like get bigger and stronger to kind of shut up my friends who were making fun of me for being scrawny and little, which I was. So I did end up working out. I did end up getting bigger. I did end up getting stronger. But then, besides just a normal hey, you're looking like bigger. Like nobody was like, oh my gosh, I was so wrong. Sorry, Karl, for being an asshole to you and making fun of you. It wasn't like you would think that that's gonna happen, but that is not what happened at all. So it's like, what's the point, right? It's like, what's the point of getting the goal if in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, for some people, they make drum corps, they make these groups, and then that's the pinnacle of their life, and like all the work that they put in to be this awesome person to march drum corps. Like after that, right? It's like, what else? What's next? Like, what's the next pinnacle? So there really shouldn't be a destination. Self-improvement and getting better at things is something that is for life. There is no such thing as getting to a certain point and then you're done. There is no done. There is no completion. You keep getting better. Now, on the point of getting better, right? It's like, you should also look at this another way. Now, some people can misinterpret what I'm saying, and they think, well, you're basically saying like everybody deserves a trophy, and it's like, it's okay if you don't make this, if you don't succeed your goals, like, you really are a piece of shit if you don't get it, like whatever. Fine, think that way. I don't care, all right? But what I'm trying to tell you is that, what truly matters is in pursuit of these goals, it is better, to, in some ways, to be happy about the fact that you became a better person because you were in pursuit of these goals, all right? That's the most important thing in my opinion. Now, you can look at this another way, all right? So let's say you don't make these groups, let's say you're upset, let's say you're mad. Don't think you're a piece of shit, all right? Because you're not, all right? But you can take that negative energy, that feeling of like anger, regret, sadness, disappointed, and you can use that as fuel to drive you to get better, all right? Now, when I first met Huei-Yuan Pan, he put out this piece that was this amazing piece, like last year, about how, this kid was basically the worst snare drummer he's ever seen, and he worked himself up to be one of the best snare drummers like he's ever seen. And I'll leave a link on the description below for that time when me and Wei talked about his blog that he posted about this kid who was the worst snare drummer he's ever seen to becoming the best ever. That kid used the the fuel of not making the group, to help him get the goals that he wanted to achieve. What's another great example? Like I saw something, I mess around on YouTube and I see like this guy, Derek Coleman, who's like this NFL player who is deaf, and he at the NFL draft, he didn't get picked by any team, but in one of the most inspirational commercials I've ever seen, he talks about how, yeah, they told me it was over, but I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen. When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing, inspirational thing I've ever seen. I might have, even like shed a tear. And this guy ended up making a football team and playing in the Super Bowl. This guy who was deaf since he was 3. He didn't like get drafted from an NFL team. And then he actually made a team because he's just like, I'm not listening to people who are telling me it's over or that, I'm not good enough. All right. So you can take that edge, right, of like that disappointment, that anger, and use that as fuel to drive you to get better. Now, for me, I didn't use that fuel to help me make a world-class drum corps. Unfortunately, it is way too late for me. There's no way I can go back in time and fix that, and for me to go march a drum corps right now. That, right? It's like that time has passed. But I can still use that failure, all those losses, all those times where I didn't make those groups, the disappointments I've had, any kind of like, failures I've had, I can use that as fuel to drive me to success in every single aspect of my life. Whether that's, finance, whether that's in my career, whether that's in my relationships. I can even develop my personality to be able to give these video blogs, to make better friends, to be more social, to be able to articulate myself and speak better. There's so many things you can do to get better, and you can use the fuel of all your failures to get better at every single little thing in your life. Does that make sense? All right? So hopefully this video has been helpful to you guys. I really tried to pour my heart and soul out into this, and I think this video is extremely important. So hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. I know it's a little bit long. Hopefully you guys stayed with me this entire time, and I really do appreciate it if you did, okay? So if you felt like I said, if you feel like this video can be useful to somebody else, please, please, please share this with them. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to share your experience of getting cut from a drum corps, or making a drum corps, maybe getting cut from a drum corps and using that motivation as fuel to actually help you reach the goal of making the drum corps that you want to make, please leave that in the comments below. And if you have not subscribed yet, I do videos like this. I do take requests, so make sure you guys subscribe. And I'm really happy to put these videos out there, like I said, because I think there's not enough of these things out there. We don't talk about it enough. There's nobody talking about this kind of stuff, and I am happy to be that guy to talk about it, to start a discussion, to help elevate the activity and just make it better. And just have a better mentality about things, especially about a subject like getting cut. Hey, I'm an expert in getting cut. So I feel like I have some authority on that matter, and I know what it's like to cope with it. I know what it's like to use that as fuel, even if it's not to make the drum corps that I wanted to make. You know, like I said, it's too late for me to make Blue Devils and Vanguard, Blue Knights and all that stuff. But I can use that as fuel to be successful in my life, in other aspects, in every aspect. There's so many things I can do. There's so many things I can achieve. And guess what, guys? Let me just leave this as a parting note, okay? In many ways, you just have to be successful. This is a long life. You only need one success, all right? Like you only need to be successful one time. Abraham Lincoln, you know, he ran for all kinds of offices. He didn't make it until he became the president of the United States. There's all kinds of examples of business people who fail at all kinds of businesses, and then they just hit it big with one business. And all they had to be is to be right that one time, to be like, oh my God, this Bill Gates guy, oh my God, this Warren Buffett guy, they're so successful. But nobody talks about the failures, right? Nobody talks about Walt Disney, you know, like, you know, trying out for different animation studios and people telling you that he's not good enough. And now look at this empire that he's created, right? Nobody talks about the failures, because all we talk about is the success. We don't talk about the fact that failure is a part of success. We look down on failures. We think that failures are pieces of shit. But little do we realize that failure is a huge part of success. You have to have your failures. You have to get knocked down your ass in order to get back up and become stronger and better than before. I've definitely taken my hits, and I felt like I have gotten better because of it. Because of my failures, I am so happy for them. You know, whether that's in my relationships, whether that's in, you know, drum corps or like auditioning for that kind of things. Like, those are the things that drive me, and it's made me a better person today. The person that you see right now, that hopefully you are looking up to and hopefully respect, is a product of all those failures. And I know I'm still gonna continue to grow. I'm still gonna continue to get better. And I hope to inspire you to do the exact same damn thing. All right, cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, signing up from Torrance High School. Hey, what's up, guys? So as I start to wrap things up over here, I know it's kind of weird that I feel like there's still some things I want to say, even though I just did one of the longest video blogs I've ever done. But I just want to make sure I cover all my bases and make sure I talk about things that are really important and kind of give you the full perspective of where I'm coming from. And one of the first things that, you know, I want to make sure we highlight is the fact that, you know, when I put out all these failures of myself, you know, the whole point is to, like, basically give you permission, right? Give you permission to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to get cut. It happens. You just have to make sure that you take that failure and use that as motivation to help you reach your goals. And like I said, it is way too late for me, but it is not too late for you. So make sure you take whatever lessons you can from what I've just said here right now, in that, you know, look at me. There's nothing I can do to go back in time and make stuff happen for me in the drum corps activity. But you certainly can. You have that time. You have the opportunity. So make sure you make the most of it, whether that's extra time in practicing, whether that's getting extra help in private lessons, whether that's just, you know, sheer determination and will of making this goal a reality. And also, I want to make sure that you have this understanding that no matter how hard you work, there is no such thing as a guarantee that you're going to reach your goals. In business, people can do everything right in business and they can still fail. So it's the same thing. It's like, aside from being like the best drummer in the world, to where no drum corps can deny you, even if you work super hard and even if you get super good, there's still absolutely no 100% guarantee that you're gonna get a spot. Maybe there's a drum corps out there that, you know, they love their vets and they're not gonna let go of their vets, and that's just it. Like, you know, they're not gonna accept anybody else. Like, in that situation, you can't do anything about it. But, you know, at least what you've done is you've gotten to be a better drummer. You've gotten to be a better person because of this pursuit, and it's still all good. Like I said, no, marching drum corps is not all it's cracked up to be. It's still amazing. It's still awesome. I'm not saying it's not. But, you know, it's like you have to look at things from the bigger picture, and that's always what I try to tell you today. And if you feel down, if you feel less of a person, like I said, there's no such thing as one human being better than another human being. Just like all the greats have said, we are all created equal. So try to look at it from that perspective. Don't think you're less of a person because you didn't make, you know, whatever drum corps you didn't make. And just try to think like, you know, you can't let society dictate how you feel about yourself. You're still an awesome person trust me, okay? I'm telling you right now, if you don't have anybody telling you that you're awesome, let Karl Drum Tech tell you you are awesome, even if you don't make drum corps. Still, the important thing is that you gotta keep improving, you gotta keep getting better. That is what's gonna make you an awesome person. So, like I said, don't let society dictate your self-worth. Don't even let the activity dictate your self-worth, and don't let anybody dictate your self-worth. Only you can decide that, and like I said, you are awesome. All right, cool. Thanks guys for listening. Like I said, peace out. I'll see you guys in the next one.